first chapter of Crime Chat Scoop, where we're going to talk about the podcast, what we've done so far, what's been in the news, and what you, our chatters, are saying.
Yes, and can you believe it? So we have had some amazing statistics when it comes to people downloading the Crime Chat, and it's so exciting. Can you guess what our top 3 episodes are?
I know what my top 3 episodes are, but what's on the tell me, I want to know.
So our first episode actually that has the total downloads is our very first one that we did, the 19 crimes. People want to see what that Crime Chat's all about, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So the second one is then the John McAfee story, which was very heavy.
That was a big one. That was a big one, yeah.
Yeah. And then the third one was the one that we just did for Christmas, the John Ramsey story, which is all 3 of those I think are quite phenomenal.
Yeah, absolutely. And 19 crimes, that I think was perfect for the first episode because it was fun. And, everybody knows the product and we love the wine, and it was very easy to kind of just go down that rabbit hole and research. Although the stories behind it, they are hard to research because there's not a lot of there to grab as far as what was happening.
But
regarding the criminals.
Yeah, the documentation. I mean, you've got some like manifest records that we were able to find, like who was on the ships and kind of the dates that they sailed and when they got there. So, I mean, for there had to be some sort of accountability for the people, right? You had the criminals, you had the free settlers, and then you had the sailors or the military men that also were over there. So as far as individual wise, there had to be some sort of accountability, but kind of what their lives were about was it was very difficult to find.
Yeah. And I think the story the whole Rum Rebellion story was huge. And I think that's kind of what we went over, the Rum Rebellion, but think of how many people probably got sent over there that aren't documented.
Yeah.
That we don't know.
Oh, so
it's crazy. But it was fun to do.
Yeah, absolutely. No, and like you said, the wine is amazing. Anytime I talk to somebody who had listened to this episode, I ask them if they've done the Living Wine app, like to see if they've tried it. And even us, we had talked about doing that for a while, but until we got into actually doing the episode, I hadn't done the Living Wine label, the app. So check out that episode where we talk about the Living Wine label app. You have your wine bottle comes to life, and the characters or these individuals on the labels of the wine actually tell you their story, and it's phenomenal.
Yeah, I hope more people did it because it is a cool little fun fact on that, and it's fun to whip it out at a party and just be like, look, this is. And they have the new one they have is Snoop Dogg.
Yes, they have a rosé. They have Snoop's red wine, and then there's a rosé, which is great.
I gotta pick up the red wine. Okay, I'm gonna get that.
So the second story we mentioned was the John McAfee story.
Yes, which you covered in great detail, and it was a 2-parter. And my brain would have broke if I was going with that story.
Like I said, it was heavy. It was very heavy, and there was a lot to him as a human. Not to just talk about like the incredible innovation and like the things that he created and came up with way ahead of his time for the 80s, and kind of just seeing this futuristic computer-based world, and just to see how his personal life really just and flipped and fumbled. And actually there was something that I came across I wanted to mention since we were going to talk about the story. We talked about it a little bit, but he got really heavy into cryptocurrency and Bitcoin, which is kind of huge across the board. I think we talked about it in the episode. Like, I don't do it. I really don't understand it. I think it's fake, but that's just me.
Yeah, I think chatters, if anybody's out there who knows something about this, please let us know, because I would love to know more about it.
Please educate us.
Educate us.
But I did find on this, it's like a blog site called thecointelegraph.com. And in here, McAfee was the #1 weirdest crypto stories of 2021. And of course, we mentioned that he killed himself in earlier this year, it's about 5 or 6 years, 5 or 6 months ago, sorry. And he was a tweeter, if you remember in the episode as well. He tweeted everything, and he was just very, anything that he could do that would grab the attention of the audience.
Yeah.
Any kind of audience, positive, negative attention, anything that he could do. He was a showman. Yes.
Yeah.
But he did put a tweet in there, as I mentioned. He says, quote, "If I suicide myself, I didn't, I was whacked." We talked about that a little bit as well. But then there was another one that says he's remembered for his pioneering ventures in programming, the early adoption of Bitcoin, and his eccentric personality. He famously said that he would, quote, "eat his own dick on national television," end quote, if the price of Bitcoin did not reach $500,000 by 2020. I don't know if there's no results in this article, so I don't know if it actually ever did.
Yeah.
I just to kind of summarize, a little bit, I didn't see this in doing my research, but man, that just kind of puts a dot on the I of that personality, and that eccentric is really, really the best word for him.
Yeah, and it's like insanity meets brilliance.
Right.
He was brilliant, but he had some mental health issues. Imagine if he was treated correctly earlier on.
Right.
Imagine if he had if he sought out therapy, if he was on maybe some type of medication that can control his urges, or he was brilliant, but he just watching him decompensate mentally.
Yeah,
just sitting there and
and
just sitting there and seeing him just kind of like peel away like an onion.
Yeah.
And him becoming more vulnerable and erratic. And the one thing that happens when you're a lot of times people get paranoid. So there was just so much to unpack there. And I think, he was a brilliant man that did not take care of himself mentally. And he didn't have anybody around him that would do it,
Well, no, and I mentioned his wife. His wife was, I think, 30 or 40 years younger than him at the time. I think 30 years. So she did a tweet on his birthday, which was September 18th, that says, "Today would have been John's 76th birthday. As we continue to wait for news from the courts, I wanted to share some of my favorite memories of John to honor him. Please share any photos that you might have." And of course, it's in memory of my soldier, is what she said. But she used the hashtag John McAfee did not kill himself, and the hashtag justice for John McAfee, which I thought was interesting. I guess I've not seen that as hashtags anywhere, but it'd be interesting to see how far that's gotten.
Do you think he did? Do you think he killed himself?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
I do. Okay. I mean, the autopsy report had no indications of foul play. There was no other reason other than, in my personal feelings, a conspiracy. The fact that he planted it in his followers' head that if it's not suicide, they killed me, because he was so paranoid, just completely paranoid about everything. So yeah.
And he does have a following. He has a huge following.
Yeah, he does. He had 10 million YouTube followers.
Oh my God.
We'll get there one day, Nat.
We will.
Well, and then the last story, which was the most downloaded story and listened to story we had, was JonBenet.
JonBenet, yes. This is and you brought up a good topic about this was the 25th year that since the crime.
Right.
And when we decided to do this episode, we decided months ago to do this episode. I mean, we've been working on this and researching it and kind of pulling from all these different sources in order to put it together, because it is just, like McAfee, it's one of those things that you can go down a rabbit hole when telling this story and be in the weeds at one point. So I think when we did it before, and then once we did it, then who came out with the
So there was all kinds of streamlined media that came out, like that were saying it's the 25th anniversary of the slaying of JonBenet. There was an hour and a half documentary type episode on Discovery ID that basically completely exonerated the Ramsey family. That was, it was very, in that documentary, it was very leaning, where you want to look at documentaries as unbiased as possible, where you just present the facts, right? In watching that twice, actually, just to see if there was something that maybe we missed in our podcast, and that we could follow it back up and kind of talk about here on the Scoop, that it just seemed very one way. And John Ramsey was actually on there himself and showing how grateful he was to this one investigator who basically that continued to investigate this crime long before or long after he actually retired from the police force, and in saying that Boulder Police Department will never solve this crime.
Yeah,
never.
I agree. And one of our chatters actually messaged us and said that they were impressed with the amount of information that we did come up with, and we were more clear and we had more info in our, even though it was a long episode, I mean, it was an hour and 38 minutes.
Yeah.
But we had more information, and she got more information out of that than when she did watching one of the documentaries. So I'm like, well, yes, that's exactly where we want to be,
Exactly. We want to present it in a very, we can have our own personal opinions, we can joke about certain things, but when it comes down to it, the facts that we do represent in these huge cases like this are just going to be for you guys to decide.
Right.
Which also
is gone. I mean, we having an opinion or a theory or is not going to bring her back. And I think enough people have been just slandered. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, that also brings us to our upcoming episode that we have. Our next feature is the Aqua Tofana. And so you decide also if Miss Julia Tofana's what is so-called a poison potion was for love, for deceit, for murder, or for happiness. What is it gonna be?
Can it be all three?
Of course.
Okay.
But we want to know what you guys think. But if you're not familiar with Julia Tofana and her potion of passion, Lady Aqua Tofana, be sure to tune in on January 8th is when it's going to come out.
Yes. And also, one more thing I just want to say, I know in the news, it's so sad, 2021, I'm happy you're gone, but you had to take Betty with you.
Yeah, you took an icon.
You had to do it, didn't you? You couldn't just leave. You couldn't just go away. No, you had to take her along with you. And you know what? Yeah. God bless her. She was an amazing woman, had an amazing life, and rest in peace, Betty White.
Rest in peace. You may have heard, if you've listened to our podcast, we talk about this thing called Patreon. What is Patreon? You may be asking yourself. Well, it's subscriber-based, where you, our chatters out there, get all the goods, to include After That Crime Chat with pictures, links, references that we've used, things that we've talked about, and where you can't get it anywhere else. It's not going to be released anywhere else. Plus, our next 5 subscribers will also get to pick their merchandise, become a VIP chatter with an episode shout out, as well as be eligible for the chatter giveaways.
Yes. Also, our VIP chatters will have free access to our up and coming live event, and do not want to miss that. That is going to be hilarious.
It's going to be exciting. We haven't really done a live event, so we're ready though. We're taking this chatter world on.
Yes, we are. Be a part of it. We want you to be a part of it. We want to what if you have any suggestions, if you have any guidance, let us know. I mean, we're here. We're having a blast doing it, and let's chatters unite.
Chatters unite.
Unite.
All right, guys. Well, this is your first chapter of the Crime Chat Scoop, where we've talked about some of our previous episodes and kind of what we got in the works. So if you guys want to reach out to us, feel free. We are on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, all your social media needs.
Yes. I'll see you there, and I can't wait for our next episode. Cannot wait.
Yes.
It's gonna be great.
I bet they were
So
chatting back in those days too.
I know.
Bye,
All right.
chatters.
Bye, chatters.